شہے آگی بکانا کہیں کچھ جینا ہے شہے آگی بکانا یاد آتا ہے طواف خانہ کعبہ مجھے یاد آتا ہے طواف خانہ کعبہ مجھے لپٹنا قسم سے اور لپٹنا قسم سے سنگ اسود چوم کر ملتا مجھے کیف و سرور سنگ اسود چوم کر ملتا مجھے کیف و سرور چین پاتا دیکھ کر دل مستجاب مستجاب چین پاتا دیکھ کر دل مستجاب مستجاب ہو کرم سرکار تو گئے بندے شمار گنبد خضرا کے جلوے اور وہیں افطاریاں گنبد خضرا کے جلوے اور وہیں افطاریاں آتی ہے بہت رمضان طیبہ کی بہار یاد آتی ہے بہت رمضان طیبہ کی بہار ہو کرم سرکار بے شمار یا رسول اللہ سن میری فریاد کو یا رسول اللہ میری فریاد کو جو سنے تیرے سوا میری پکار کون ہے جو سنے تیرے سوا میری پکار ہو کرم سرکار تو گئے بندے شمار غم زدہ یوں نہ ہوا ہوتا عبید قادری غم زدہ یوں نہ ہوا ہوتا عبید قادری اس برس بھی دیکھتا گر شد گنبد کی بہار اس बरस पीले कागन सर गुंबद की बहार हो करम सरकार हम बेशुमार जानो दिल तुम पर फिदा है तो जहाँ के ताजदार हो करम सरकार हो गए हम बेशुमार
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Please repeat after me. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. There are many blessings of reciting the Quran from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Indeed, Aka sallallahu alayhi wa sallam states that on the day of judgment, which is a very difficult day, there will be no shade. But 3 people will be under the shade of the Arsh of Allah Azza wa Jalla. The first of those, this is something we forget often, is the one who relieves the distress of my ummah. In these days where it's a fast life, when we come across somebody who's in trouble, I haven't got time to help him, somebody else will do it. But those who take the time to help others, alhamdulillah, not only do they gain great reward, but as brotherhood, mashallah, when you're in trouble, you can then expect the same. Then the second person, the one who revives my sunnah. And in this day and age, it's sometimes difficult because a lot of people think if you want to progress in your life and your career and everything else, then having a beard or doing anything else is very difficult. It isn't. It's just all in the mind. And if you have the strong resolve to follow the sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then we can all achieve whatever we set out to do. And I'm going to deal with the example of that in a few seconds. The third though, very important part. The third person under the shade of the Arsh of Allah Azza wa Jalla will be the one who was recited the Dawat from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, a lot of people ask for quick fixes to their problems. A lot of them ask for quick fixes to get rich, but I can't provide you that. But I can provide you with a quick fix to deal with your problems. That universal solution, whether you're ill, you're in financial debt or problems, whether you're in other calamities or troubles, is the Dawat from Nabi Kareem. It works in every situation. Try to test it. So the next time you have a problem, rather than start to fall into a fit of rage and try everything else, just relax. Think this is a test from Allah and start reciting the fact and watch your problem disappear. Sallu ala al-Habib. First of all, I'd like to welcome our guests, Chief Sultan General Umar Khan Bey. It's a great honor and a privilege that he's here. And the example I was referring to, people like him, mashallah, who excel in their careers, and Nadeem Bey for that example. These guys are role models for us, mashallah. We need more of them. So your aspirations, and this is one of the problems that we have with the youth today, that my role models are the wrong people. These are the people who should be your role models, because these are the people, mashallah, who have done very well and set an example for you. Sid, 15-year-old lad, nice guy, lived with his parents, working hard at school, he's got sisters, wants to go to college, university, maybe do a degree. Who knows what the future holds? His father works hard day and night, make sure he's got the latest trainers, all the latest shirts and everything else. Phone. Mother, as mothers always are, caring and loving, always looking after him. Even when he walks through the door at 2 o'clock in the morning, the first question mother asks, have you had something to eat? Such a caring mother. Then sisters, whose life evolves around Sid's. You know, everybody, the whole family, he's the centre of attention. School, he's with the mates. Nice lad, he knows he's got a bit of a gift for the gab, he can say a few things. He's mixing in well. Locally, outside school, he's known well. You know, he's a decent guy. He's known well. He has dreams. He thinks about his future. His dad has dreams as well. Dad thinks, when I get old, Sid's going to be my, support. Mum thinks he's my future. I've got to marry him off, bring a bride home. He's going to help with his sister's marriages. He's going to help us both financially and emotionally cope in our old age. So he's everything. In the evenings, he's hanging around with a few people. And his parents don't approve of it. But Sid thinks he knows better. Doesn't mean you know, doesn't mean you know. Oh, I wish they'd use those terms. Now it's the old man and the old woman. So he's hanging around with these people. Mum and dad don't approve of it. And there's a bit of rivalry. Between local lads. So, there's a little gang of 10 or 15 on one side, 10 or 15 on the other. So sometimes they go into fist fights, they have a few fights. And sometimes it's kind of got to kicks, punches, and black eyes, that sort of thing. The type of thing that Nadeem Bey deals with on a daily basis, unfortunately. Happens, you have fights at school. Then, Shiz loved playing football. Ambition, wanted to play for Liverpool. Supported Liverpool. Family members liked him. Chilled out with his mates. And then 30 seconds came along. Now 30 seconds is not a long time. The reason I looked at my watch is I've been talking for a few minutes. 30 seconds. But those 30 seconds changed his life. He left home to go somewhere. A couple of lads started to walk behind him. A few others joined. What do you think you're looking at? That sort of talk. And suddenly a fight broke out. Now, it would have been a normal fight. Fists being thrown, black eyes, a few bruises. But what Sid thought was he needed protection. So just in case, I'm not stupid enough to use it, just in case I need it, to scare people. He had a knife. He'd taken a small knife from the kitchen, had it on him. So when the fist started to go and the anger and everything else, and he's been hit a few times, out came the knife. He stabbed one person, he slashed the other. He says it was no more than 30 seconds, maybe it was a bit longer, 45 seconds. But those 30 seconds changed my life. Because the person I stabbed died. Sid is currently serving 35 years for murder. His father's dreams were shattered. His support, Burapeka Sahara, gone. His mother dies every morning and every evening and lives again. cries constantly because her one son is now in prison serving a sentence. His sisters, they've been married. He's got nephews and nieces. Never seen them. In fact, while he was on remand, he was blessed with a baby sister that he's never seen. College, university, football, his mates, all disappeared in those 30 seconds. And what was going to be a normal fight turned out to be a life-changing event. Now, he has no dreams. His own account is, depending on my behavior, sometimes I have to spend 23 hours a day in a cell with no phone and no television, staring at the ceiling. And I've had time to think. And he says, you know, the bitter irony is, the mates that I used to hang around with, they haven't come to see me yet. I've been in prison for 2 years. And the mates that I gave priority to over my parents, I said, Mum didn't know. The old man doesn't know anything. These boys know everything. They've not even come to see me. And I'm in a prison that's some distance from my home. It's only my parents who travel regularly to come and see me, perhaps once a week. In the initial days, it was a bit more. And now, as life is getting on, it's once a week or once a month. And I'm there alone. You know what he says? What was the catalyst? What made the difference? He says, I think about this every day I'm in there. And I'm serving 35 years. I wish I hadn't taken that knife. Because if I hadn't taken that knife, it would have been a fist fight. I would have ended up with a black eye. Maybe they'd got the better of me. They would have given me a few kicks and walked off. But I would have been back home. I would have been with my family. I would have had a life. But my decision to take that knife, those 30 seconds have changed everything. This is the reality of now. And the flip side of the coin, you know, the person that died, he was the only son of the parents. They didn't have any other children. They only had one son. How do you go, and these brothers have to do it, how do you go knock on the door of those parents in the middle of the night and say your one and only son and your one and only child, who's 16, 17, and 18, isn't coming home today? Because Sid decided to take a knife with him. Sid's going to ask, why did I do that? Why was I so foolish to take that knife? But he isn't the only one who's going to think that. His father's going to think, why did my son do that? His mother every day is going to think, why did my son do that? His sisters are going to, and the person who died, his parents are going to think that the center of our life, the whole life support that we had, one child has been taken from us. Why? Because Sid decided to take a knife. You know, when he was interviewed, never in my wildest dreams would I ever think that I was ever going to use it. It was just for protection. I didn't think, I thought, well, I'll have it. I'm not going to use a knife. I'm not going to kill anybody. But in that moment of rage and anger, you don't have control of what you do. Knife crime is serious. Carrying a knife, different types of knives they have that can badly injure people. But even carrying a knife carries up to a 4-year prison sentence. And that's just for carrying it. But if you're Sid, it's not just one life sentence. Because I want you to think about this carefully. Sid got a life sentence. But he wasn't the only one. His dad got a life sentence. His mum got a life sentence. His sister's got a life sentence. The guy who died, his parents got life sentences. These are lives we're talking about, based upon a decision to carry a knife. That's it. Don't fool yourselves. The prisons are full of people who took weapons, whether it's a knife or another weapon, and thought it was for protection. And in the heat of the moment, they used it. You've got idiots, and I call them idiots deliberately, who march down the street with swords and machetes, thinking they're 10 men. They are the most stupidest of people. There was an incident in my town in Bolton a few weeks ago. I'm sure Umar Bhai Nadeem Bhai heard of that. Where there were people on the streets, where there were children carrying swords and fighting each other. How foolish is that? They're all going to be looking at prison sentences. You can't get away with it. Where is this 10 men mentality coming from? This it syndrome. I'm it. I've got to prove myself. Sid's trying to prove himself in prison every day. He's got no life. That's what the reality is. When we're born, the scholars write that we're born with certain natural instincts. There's animalism. There's anger. There's a satanic quality where you get whispers in your ear and just follow it. And then there's something very beautiful they say. It is incumbent upon every single one of us. We have a duty to control all of these. Society makes its own rules. Alhamdulillah, the rules of Islam are beautiful. It teaches you to control your animalism, your desires, your lusts, your greed. It teaches you to control your anger. It teaches you about satanic whispers and not to follow them. And you know what happens as you grow and your character grows? These you suppress and you control, and naturally Allah then makes shine the angelic quality in you. Because that's the fourth quality that you have. You have a quality like the angels, angelic quality, which is caring, which is loving, which is wanting to help others. These people will not even damage a tree, let alone a human being, because this is the creation of Allah. What has happened is that they've built their character over time. What do we do? Our life revolves around our greed, me, myself, and what I want. Other people's feelings don't matter. And we get to such a state of hard-heartedness that it takes something like this to make us wake up. And the sad reality is that sometimes we might wake up in a prison cell. And that's the harsh reality. There is a very interesting story in Tanbih al-Ghafilin, a very interesting book. And Sayyidina Wahab bin Munabbih rahmatullahi alayhi says that there was a pious man of Allah Azza wa Jal in the Bani Israel. He used to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. Once he's on a journey, and he's doing the zikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, he's walking along, and suddenly events start to occur. There's a stone that falls down from the mountain. He's not scared, he carries on. When he stands for salah, there's a snake in front of him, and it opens its mouth and he carries on. And after some time of these weird and wonderful events, Shaitan, the Satan, comes before him. He says, "You're a very pious and a very strong man. He says, I've tried to scare you and I've not succeeded. Wow, your faith is amazing. Ask me about your family, about your children. I'll tell you what their future holds." And the man very calmly replies, "The future is with Allah Azza wa Jal. If they are good, Allah Azza wa Jal will make their future good. And if they are bad, I'm not going to worry about such people." He says, "Okay, ask me how I deceive people." As soon as he says this, the friend of Allah realizes this is good information. He says, go on, tell me. He says, I have 3 weapons. Stinginess, greed. People get lost in greed, in stinginess, in gaining position, and they kill, they do anything. And once he's blinded by the greed he's in, or the lust he's going for, then I can take him anywhere. He said the 3rd is intoxication. Once he's intoxicated, I can make him do anything. The 2nd one, my dear Islamic brothers, was the one we're interested in today. He said, my 2nd weapon is to make people angry. Because when people get angry, they lose their mind. And they will do things that they never dreamt of doing. And his words, I play with such a person who's angry. Like children play with a ball, I toss them from one to the other through the shayateen. So the devil's throwing from one angle to the other. Because he's angry, his intellect is now cut off. He's got these rose-colored glasses on. Everything he sees is red. The blue sky, the green grass, everything is red. All he can see is that he's been insulted or he's been punched, and that's it. Now, at that time, if you add to the mix a knife, then the next thing the shaitan does is it was there for protection. But now, I'm going to make you use it. Sounds fanciful? Ask Sid. Because Sid isn't somebody I've made up. He's a young man who is in prison just outside Birmingham. He's serving a 35-year sentence, having destroyed his own life and the lives of those around him. Now, the flip side to this is you've got to realize who we are and where we're going. This life is very short. You've been granted this life of 60, 70 years. The first 10 or 15 you spend in your childhood, the last 15 you spend in old age, thinking about illnesses and your future and the lack of mobility you have. So it's really the 30 years in between. You feel strong, you feel invincible. I've got to do something. I've got to show the world I'm something. But how are you going to show the world that you're really worth something? Is it by fighting? Is it by flexing your muscles? Is it by, harming other people? Is it by carrying a knife? Getting into drugs? Or is it by achieving something where your parents are proud of you? Is it by gaining a position where your brothers and sisters, when they need help, you are there for them? Is it by working hard so that when your community and your fellow brothers need you, you are there for them? Is it by doing what these brothers do? Or is it zooming up and down these streets in those fast cars for 6 months and then spending the rest of your life in prison? Is it saying, I'm the gangster and flicking your fingers and think life revolves around me? Because we've seen many of them. I'm not young now. I've seen generation after generation. Brother Umar has as well. But they think they're it at 17 and 18. And by 22, everything's gone. But those who at that age listen to their parents, those at that age control their environment, those were the ones who were successful. These are the people who kept their feet firmly on the ground. It's not easy. It's not easy for a 16, 17 and 18-year-old in the environment that we live in, with social media and all this hype about being strong and able to fight and able to use weapons. It's not easy. But you know what helps? The missing ingredient is your deen. Is Islam. Islam is such a beautiful religion that all those gaps that you have, it fills all of them. When you stand and pray in the court of Allah 5 times a day, you will realize the purpose of your creation. You will realize when you read the Quran that you weren't made to zoom up and down and coming home and shout to your parents at 2 o'clock in the morning. No. You were made to worship Allah. And this is a common fallacy amongst the youngsters as well. Worshipping Allah, no doubt, is salah as well. But it's treating your parents properly. It's being nice to your brothers and sisters. Helping those in need. This is worship of Allah. Being kind to people. And even at the next high level, doing good to the one who wrongs you. Somebody gives you the eyes. You know, these days, you walk to a little child and you just look at him like, what are you looking at? That's the attitude we have. Yet, what does Islam teach us? Lower your gaze. Don't engage in this. This macho image. How dare you look at me? Why? You're going to get into a fight and because of name calling? You're much bigger than that. Why are you bringing yourself to a level that is down there? Allah has given you the intellect. Your parents have brought you up. You're up here. And when that idiot on the street says, come on, the first thing that should come into your head is, look at him. He's on the streets. He's doing nothing with his life. I've got a family. I've got a career. I've got a future. Why would I want to come from my level to this meager level down here? I don't want to engage in this. The shaitan will say, go grab a stick, grab a knife. Show him what you're made of. No, I don't need to show him what I'm made of. I wasn't created to harm him. If he's going to be stupid, do I have to match him? No. Let me share with you Aka Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Man approached and said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, please advise me. And the best of creation sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replied, do not get angry. He then said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, give me some more advice. And Aka Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, do not get angry. And for the third time, the best of creation gave the same advice. Today, this anger destroys our life. Whether it's at home with your parents or your siblings, we haven't learned this skill of life. You know, you go to school and you learn your maths and your sciences and your English and everything else. You have to learn how to talk. You have to learn how to think Islamically. You have to learn how to behave. What we've done is we've skipped that chapter. We didn't learn that. We think we get our behavior, our morals, and our way of speaking from the films. It's not going to work. In the films, when they kill somebody, it's just fictitious. They walk away from it. When there's 10 around them and they're fighting, it's just fake. You live in the real world. If you harm somebody, you will go to prison. If you stab somebody, you will end up in a lonely cell for 23 hours a day, staring at the ceiling and crying over those moments. This is what Sid said. His interview is there. He said, I cry because I think what life had for me, what I've done with it. Aka Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Sahih Bukhari Sharif, the powerful man is not the one who is a wrestler, who's strong, who can overpower somebody. A powerful man is not one who can wrestle and overpower the people. But the powerful man is he who controls his anger. When he's angry, when he's angry, he knows his limits. When somebody swears at him and rebukes him, he turns a blind eye. He doesn't react. As the Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi quotes in Kimya Sahadat, a person was rude to Amir al-Mu'mineen Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq radiyallahu anhu. This is the leader who ruled 2.25 million square miles. He was the great conqueror. Islam flourished under him. And the Persian kings could not sleep if they heard the name of Umar mentioned in their court. This is Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala. Imam Ghazali quotes this, that a person talked rudely to Amir al-Mu'mineen Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala. Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz. This is a long story as well, but this was his grandson. He bowed his head and said, do you want me to be angry so that the shaitan plunges me into pride and arrogance and I use my power to inflict cruelty upon you? And then on the day of judgment, you will come along and you will say to Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya Allah, he inflicted cruelty on me. I want his good deeds. Look at the Madani mindset. Today, we have a competition. Who can shout the loudest? You know, the glorious Quran says, the loudest voice is that of a donkey. If somebody's shouting, the beautiful way of our pious predecessors was to ignore him. If you're walking past a house and the dog runs out to the gate and starts barking at you, are you going to return? Are you going to stand there and argue with this dog? Why are you arguing with ignorant people who have no knowledge? Hazrat Sayyidina Fuzayl bin Iyad was informed that somebody was talking bad about him. You know, this backbiting that's common today. Whenever the lads get together, we've got to talk about a third person. He said, surely I take an oath by Allah that I'm going to upset the shaitan. He then made dua, Ya Allah, whatever ill he has spoken of me, if I possess those faults that he said, please forgive me and remove them and give me guidance. But if he's falsely accused me, Ya Allah, please forgive him. He could have taken revenge. Today, our lives evolve around making others look inferior, making others look, whether it's in the household, even the mother of our children. I've got to have the upper hand. I've got to be better than my brother. How can my brother be better than me? So our lives evolve around this deception. And it all comes back to diseases of the heart. Once you walk down that path, then you are truly in that gauntlet of the shaitan. You're in his area, you're in his arena. Then he can make you do whatever he wants. He then gives you the ideas. He then deprives you of your intellectual thinking. You will run something over your mind again and again. You come to the same conclusion. Why? Because you can't get out of that pattern of thinking negatively and wrongly, because it's gradually instilled in your mind. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah narrates, whoever possesses three qualities, Allah Azza wa Jal will grant him easy accountability on the day of judgment and will make him enter Jannah with his mercy. I want you to listen to these very carefully, because in today's society, this is something that's really missing. Give to the one who deprives you. You can't have this, but if I need something and I ask you, well, we say, well, I asked him 6 months ago, he didn't, no. For the sake of Allah, give to that person. Reconcile with the one who cuts off ties. I don't want to know you. You're my brother, but this whatever you've done is wrong. I don't want to know you. No, you're my brother. Surely we all make mistakes. Even if you don't accept your mistake, I forgive you. I'm going to be normal. I'm going to give you salam whenever I see you. Whenever you need me, I'm always going to be there for you. That was the way of our pious predecessors. And you know, with that beautiful character and the beautiful behavior, Islam flourished. You know, the people who saw this amazing character and amazing behavior, they were mesmerized by the beauty of this religion. And finally, forgive the one who oppresses you. Somebody does bad, so just forgive them for the sake of Allah. Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa had a neighbor. He used to always send his dirty water and all his trash to their place. One day he gets arrested, gets taken to the police station. Nobody wants to go and help him. And the great Hazrat makes his way to the police station. Because of his great status, he was known throughout the lands. Everybody stood up and said, Hazrat, you come here? He said, yes, you've got my neighbor. Whatever mistake is made, I'm here to get taken away. I said, no problem. And he came back with his neighbor. But the neighbor asked him, look, I've been giving you all this taklif, all these troubles for so long. He was a non-Muslim. I've been giving you all these troubles for so long. He said, yes, and I've been cleaning it. Every day I get up, it's part of my routine. I clean whatever you do. He said, why? He says, because this is what our beloved Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, I don't want to take another step before reading the kalma of that beloved Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the beauty of Islam. Today we've lost the beauty. The beauty was in caring for other people, loving other people, helping other people. And it's sad that our position is such that our own parents can't rely on us. Our own brothers and sisters, never mind the people outside, never mind society generally, our own parents can't rely on us. Learn to forgive. Learn to repent in the court of Allah. If you want protection from these calamities that face you, then make sure you're with the right crowd. These brothers will tell you that a lot of people that we're used to seeing in the system were there because they've come from a nice, respectable family, but they got in with the wrong crowd. They wanted to prove that they were something. They got in with the wrong people, and they ended up in drugs, they ended up in gang fights, they ended up in stabbings, and they ended up in prison. Not all of them were bad people. But what happened was their environment they were in led them to that. You've got to change your environment. If you're with good people, you will end up doing good. I always give the example that I used to travel after, alhamdulillah, after I qualified as a barrister, and I used to travel. We went to lots of different countries with 2 or 3 friends of mine. And wherever we were, alhamdulillah, we always prayed namaz at its time with Jama'at. Even if we were on a coach, we were quite friendly with it. We were in Tunisia somewhere, I think, once, and we just asked the time. Because I was with the right crowd, all of that trip, we didn't miss our salah. And one of them was a Hafiz of Quran. So he used to get up every morning and read his Quran. So we used to read as well. It wasn't me, it was the company I was with, the environment I was with. Today, there's one thing that I want to give you that you can take away with you that can change your life. And that is the Madni environment of Dawateislami. What the scholars say is to truly change, you need to change your environment. Now, when it comes to environment, it's not just a part-time, if you come to see me once every Sunday, it's not going to work. If you change and attach yourself to the Madni environment of Dawateislami, alhamdulillah, this has given us so much that it can take over your life. Let me give you an example. You've got the Thursday Ijtimas every week. The brothers say it's like recharging your batteries and bringing your feet back to the ground. It gives you a reality check. This is about a 1 hour, 19-minute Ijtima, where there is a Tilawat Quran, Natifak, and a short bayan, and then zikr. And some brothers say that zikr, it gets rid of the whole tension for the whole of the week. Then, every month, the brothers travel on Madni Qaflas. They stay in the masjid, they pray their salah in the masjid, and they learn the Quran, Sunnah, and Farz alone. And it's just that environment, the staying in the masjid and the barakat and the noor that helps change them. And we've had Jack the lads, we've had the gangsters. We had a Madni Qafla in Bolton a few years ago. And we had a young lad, and he comes in, he's one of those off the street, and I'm not eating this food. What we tried to do is cook food and bring it with us. I ain't eating this, I want some, fast food. So he said, no problem. Went and got some fast food. He wanted to sit on a chair, we sat him on a chair. And he's kind of, quite loud as well and asking questions, so the brothers would put up with it. It's Friday. Saturday, we go from Neki Kidaw, we go into the local area, we invite people back to the masjid as a bayan. Sunday goes by. Sunday evening, we finish our Madni Qaflas. And those brothers doing our Madni Qaflas, they'll know that in the afternoon, you kind of clean up the whole of the masjid, and then, you do your rounds where, because everybody kind of chips in with their money, and we do some khidmat for the masjid and everything else. And then some brothers gradually start to depart. This was a gangster. He was a bit of a jack the lad who wouldn't even talk to us properly when he came. He said, for the first time in my life, I found peace and tranquility. I'm not going home. He refused to go home. We're trying to talk to him. Yeah, you can't stay in this masjid. At that time, we didn't have our own Fazan Medinas as well. So we were in another masjid, and we said, no, but you can't stay here. The committee wants to lock up the doors. You know, they want to say you've had 3 days. He says, no, I'm not going back home. It's the first time in my life I find peace in my heart. I'm staying here. And honestly, we had to convince him to go back home and then come back in the next Madani Kafla. Inshallah, you'll enjoy that as well. That brother's life changed. So you've got the Thursday Iftar, you've got the Madani Kaflas. You've got 24-hour mobility in your home Madani channel. Then, as well as that, you've got social media platforms. We spend a lot of time on that. You've got Dawateislami social media platforms, UK level and town level as well. You can see a lot of yarns and things on there. Then, as well as that, every Saturday, you've got a 3-hour Madani Muzakara with Amir al-Sunnah. And this pious man of Allah just sits there and he teaches you how you should behave with your parents, how you should learn the sunnahs, what your life really is about. And if you sit down and watch that with the family, honestly, it changes your mindset and your perception of the world. Then, our sisters. For the youth, we say, they're going on the wrong path. Our youth are today going on the wrong path. The question is, why haven't you taught him? And the answer comes back. This is very important for my, brothers. He's still young yet. He's only 13, 14, 15. When he gets a bit older, something's dar ho jayega. Ask Brother Umar and Brother Nadeem from their experience. It's too late then. What was the age? The age was actually 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ghazali Rahmatullahi says, you had a blank piece of paper in front of you. You could have written whatever you wanted. And you ignored him. You were too busy with work. And by the time you got time, somebody else had written on that paper. Now, when he's 15, he's like a tree that's grown sideways. Now, when you put a stick next to it, he ain't going to change it. Gosh, when he was 7, 8, and 9, you put that stick next to it. He would have grown straight, and you would have been proud. And he would have given fruit that the world could eat. This is important. Your environment. So our sisters, there are sisters in the house. There's so much going on with Dawateislami. There's so many courses, there's online courses, you can sit in the comfort of your own home. But the point is this. If you want to change your environment, change your friends. In Bolton, Fazan Medina, one night somebody said, there's some brothers sat there, youngsters sat there. And I said, what are they doing there? Because I deal with buildings as well. I said, what are they doing there at 1 o'clock in the morning? And he said, they're all young lads, and they're all between 15 and 18, 19. I was thinking, what they're doing. And then I find out, alhamdulillah, they get together once a week. Like Friday, we have chill out. They sit there, they order food, and they do a methlanat every night. Every week, once a week. They're all like-minded. So while other people are worried that their children are out on the streets and they're going to get themselves into trouble, these youngsters were there. And somebody was complaining. I said, yeah, don't complain. Thank Allah. I said, if you want somebody to watch over them, we'll come down and we'll watch over them. We'll stay in the other room. Sometimes the lads don't want you in the same room. They want to have a chill. Fine. They're in Fazan Medina, they're having a chill. Beautiful. But they're with the right crowd. My son was there. I wouldn't be worried about him. If my son was out on the street, I would always worry that he may end up like sick. And then I might get a knock on my door. And that knock on the door may be life-changing. I don't want to see that. I want to see each one of you going to college, going to universities, getting good jobs. I want each one of you to do well. But what I want doesn't matter. What matters is those parents who spent their lives. Think about that. Never carry a knife. Never, never, never go near a knife. Every time you see a knife from now on, think of your parents. Think of your life. Think of your family. Think of that mother who only had one child and she lost that child in a fight. And tell your friends, never carry a knife. May Allah protect us all. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to make something of our lives. Alhamdulillah, in the same place every Sunday we have the Dawateislami Inspired Ijtima, 6:45 to 7:45, and especially for the youth, this is. So the youngsters, bring your friends. Alhamdulillah, we've got a lot of English-speaking brothers better than me who come down and they do their bayans, and Alhamdulillah, they're life-changing. Look, I wasn't natural in this, but it was a Madni environment of Dawat Islami that Alhamdulillah I'm stood here before you today. Like me, I started to do on the Madni Kafas and they taught me how to do dars, and gradually I worked up from there. And like me, you could be here or your child could be here. There's no reason for that, but you need to put in the effort. May Allah will protect us all. Ameen. Bijahi Nabi Ameen Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. MashaAllah, Brother Harun speaks very passionately and eloquently, and MashaAllah, he's inspired us, and it's remiss of me to stand here to follow him in such a way. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him desire here for his time and his words of inspiration. I know people would be sat down for quite a long time. So you want to just stand up for 10 seconds? Just give your legs a stretch. Just stand up for 10 seconds and then sit down again after that. Just give your legs a stretch. Because sometimes you can sit down and your tiredness can overtake you. Please now be seated. I believe that our cinemas is 8 o'clock. So I'll just keep mine to no more than 10 minutes, inshallah, because whatever has been said, needed to be said, has been said very eloquently and passionately. So I just want to share 3 very short words. 3 words that I encourage your people. One is to dream, second one is to believe, and the third one is hard work. So these are the 3 things that my father constantly, mashallah, was still alive and very religious and when I was a child. So I'll share 3 quick stories on those 3 things. When I came into this majlis, I asked the brothers who was born here, who was born in Pakistan, there's a reason for that. So initially, let me tell you about my career, just to give you an idea about what my journey has been. So I joined the police in 1995. I went to Rochdale, where some years later I thought it was Mohammed's inspector, mashallah. So initially I was a constable, one of the early sort of Muslim Asian officers in Greater Manchester Police. And it was a different environment. I was desperate for a job and I would do anything. I used to work in markets before that. So I got into the police. So one thing was my father taught me to always be istiqamah in your prayers, and always that whatever happens in here is not important. So I had no fear. So hard work was part of our psyche. So because I joined an environment, hard work was not an issue. I worked in the market, so the policing came very easy to me. So the first 2 years passed by, I passed my probation, I had the fastest 100 arrests. But there's a couple of bits and pieces where first time ever I came across names like Muhammad Salim and Muhammad Islam, and people that I was arresting for burglaries, and people I was arresting for, and because I was a Muslim and I was, alhamdulillah, I was always good on Salah in the police station. I was caught once by the inspector in the fire exit, and he said, "What you're doing is a morning exercise." I said, "No, it's my prayers." He said, "Why didn't you tell me how we got your room?" So that was the first time that we had a room for prayer. And when the Rochdale Police building was rebuilt, alhamdulillah, they prayed with Sultana and also the prayer hall. So I said to the officers that we fought for this and now use it. And Muhammad is there, actually, who will attest to that. So I went for my Hajj at that time, and I came back. And I joined the CID, one of the earliest officers in the CID. And murders and these things were quite a common thing, really. So I went to the commercial fraud unit because of such a lot of the people from the Asian backgrounds and the Nigerian community, sorry to say this, were very heavily involved in fraud. So having somebody with the language skills and whatever would be good. So I went in the fraud squad. I ended up working with the customs, and then before I knew it, I was working in a very corporate environment, looking at heroin coming into the UK from Europe, from Iran, from Pakistan and Afghanistan, these countries. So 7 years passed by. So I passed my
exams, and I was going to go and become a detective sergeant in a covert environment. But then we had the Northern riots, which was the Golden riots, Burnley riots, again, youngsters from our communities who uprose, and they had their reasons and causes, but many of them ended up going to prison for a long time. So I was dispatched to Oldham, where I was a sergeant for 7, 8 years, but I seen all sorts of horrible things at that time. And one of the words I remember was one of my friends, he became a sergeant, a name, Mohammed Yilnoe, he's a now chief inspector. He came over from Rochdale, very sheltered life, and he came to Oldham, and he saw some of the things, drug dealing, AI, all these types of knife branding things. He said, "Oh man, is this right? That our people up in these do this sort of stuff?" I said, "Yes, this is 2006, 7, whatever." 2009, I think I passed my inspector's exam. I was sent back to Rochdale, and I feel ashamed to say this, but this is reality. This is something that's happened. And at that time, there was the Rochdale child abuse crisis. And there was a group of people, unfortunately, who identified themselves as Asians or Muslims, but the far right people identified them as Muslims because they wanted to do anything and everything to humiliate the word of Islam, even though these people had none of those values of Islam. So 3-4 years we worked in that area. We had 29 far right protests, and I was at the receiving end of a lot of this, during which time our Dean of Islam took a lot of criticism about the fact it's intentional attacks. So we weathered that storm, and then after that, I became temporarily, came out from Mohammed's, you and I worked in the same ship in Russia at that time. Then I became temporary chief inspector, and then we came to Manchester. The terror attacks were happening around Europe. We needed to do something community-wise. So the chief constable, Sir Peter Pine, he asked me to come to headquarters. So to some of the learnings that we had from Rochdale into Greater Manchester level. So we initiated a campaign. 2017, we had the terror attack again involving identifying a young person whose identity is as a Muslim. That was again picked up, and again Islam took a lot of bashing because of it, and 22 innocent people lost their lives, in this area. So since then, obviously, I've done the work and done different things. I became a superintendent, and I was the territorial commander, district commander for North Manchester. So did a couple of years there, and again, seeing all the things, youngsters, my heart bleeds because there's so many of our Asian children from deprived backgrounds, communities, in knife crime, all manner of crimes, counter violence. So since obviously became a chief superintendent, and part of it, there's two things. One is the world that I'm seeing, and the second is my journey. And the reason why I asked that brother over there, 2 brothers, mashallah, from Pakistan, is that I was actually born in Pakistan. So when I came here as 11-year-old, I couldn't speak English. So when I first went to the school, I was the adults class, as known. I was the worst school, Greystone High School, the worst class, in the lowest form, and I was the worst kid, as in, I did not, I wasn't stupid, it's just I couldn't speak English, so it's not stupid, so they put me there. So for the next 3 years, up to the age of GCSEs, I didn't have no GCSEs, but my father always said to me, if you pray your salah, you have a strong belief, you dream, inshallah, you will get somewhere. And he will say to the family that he's going to have this big job, he's going to do this. And I used to feel pressure. I'm thinking, my God, how am I going to do that? He said, well, we just work hard, believe. So I would work hard, no matter what job I was given, I would work hard. So I worked in markets, I worked in Megaball and all these places. So I became a witness to a crime, and I was detected there. And I gave a statement, and these are horrible people from Old Trafford, a bit like alongside here. And so I gave a statement. So I had a strong belief, that's the second bit. The belief was that whatever happens with Allah, you believe or you're greater. And I'm not embarrassed to say this to people because I had a strong belief. So at that time, I said, whatever's going to happen, someone's going to kill me. If Allah means it's going to happen. I gave a statement. I was trying to go give evidence. I sailed magistrate's court. I turned up on that day, there were people who despite their threats and everything, were really guilty. I didn't have to give evidence, and that's that. So the detective constable said to me, why can't you become a police officer? So I said, me, at that time I was 18, 19, a lot thinner than I am now. I said, me, Asian person, can't speak English properly. How can I become a police officer? And I said, I don't even have the physical attributes. He said, no, what you've got is that you've got this strength of character inside, and that's more important than physical strength or any other strength. So I said, no, not me. We joking, I said it to my friends, and they said, you're crazy, you're going to be wearing a coffin. This is what they refer to, be wearing a coffin. So I lost all my friends. So 2 years passed, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So in the end, I said to my father, this is what's in my heart. He said, look, have a go, and if you don't like it, you can always quit. So I said, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. That's quite good advice. I'll go and join. If I don't like it, I'll quit. So I'm just tying that story up. So the story of reason I'm tying that up is to say that all of you sat in this room, doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter where you are now, doesn't matter if you don't have GCSEs, doesn't matter if you don't have the 11 plus, it doesn't matter if your parents are not rich, because mine certainly won't be looking at a terrace house in Old Trafford. My brothers were sharing the same thing, my 5 sisters shared in the other room. It's what matters, it's what's in your heart. Okay, do you believe in yourself? Do you have a dream, inshallah? Are you prepared to work hard? Okay, so my last point here, based on what the Haruna said, because he said all the things that we needed to hear, all the lovely hadiths, all the well-researched work, mashallah, he's put a lot of effort into his talk. So the important bit for us to do that talk any justice is to take away and reflect on what has been said. Do we remember the 3 people under the Arsh of Allah? Do we remember the people who would be given high statuses for their patience, for all these things? This is the test. You see, it's very easy, mashallah, to sit in one girl's listen to talks. Life comes at one day at a time. One day, tomorrow is your day. Today was your day. It's coming to a dawn now. We're going to read a salah and then be finished. So tomorrow is your day. It's your holidays for some of you. So what's your plan? Are you going to get up at midday and then you're going to have your breakfast at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then you're going to go and chill out for a bit outside? Is that going to be your day, or are you going to make the most of your day? If you can win your day, get up with Fajr namaz, have your rest and sleep after that, then get up. 4 things you need to learn, okay? I am learning this today. I finished a course on writing. So 4 things you have to learn. It doesn't matter who you are, whether it's this brother from Pakistan or that brother from Manchester Grammar. 4 things. Doesn't matter what age you are. Is you need to learn to read, okay? You need to learn to write, okay? You need to learn to think, and you need to learn to speak. So these 4 skills, doesn't matter who you are, actually this was a barrister, he needs to be able to write, read, think, so he can articulate his points. He needs to be able to speak, like Surya Mashallah spoke very eloquently. So these are the 4 skills that with the summer holidays that you need to learn, because the better you get at them, the better your chances will be of getting good employment, so that you become a scholar, or you're going to become a business person, or you're going to become a professional person. So I'll conclude there. And last little bit I want to say was the brother talked about Sid. When I was a territorial commander of the city of Manchester, I dealt with a very terrible case, which many of you will be aware of, the case of Brother Yusuf Maki, 15-year-old Manchester grammar student whose mother died because of the pain. Yes, this is how painful. So all the things that Brother Harun said came to truth in that case. My heart still bleeds for that family. Lovely kid, given scholarship at Manchester Grammar, fantastic career life ahead of him, and he sadly died at the behest of a knife into his heart, and his sisters and his family are living in that pain, which is unbearable. It's beyond word, beyond comprehension. So today's majlis is all about knife crime, the dangers of it. But what I want to finish with is a positive note. That lead here in front of me is, inshallah, the future leaders of our communities, of our ummah, of our generations. Who those people are, I don't know, but I can tell you that their qualities are the ones who will wake up tomorrow morning, read their Fajr Salah, and then they're going to look to win the day. They're going to win the day, which is that they're going to read the 5 times Salah, they're going to learn to read, write, think, speak, and they're going to do that to the best of their ability, and they're going to do it the next day. And the next day, that's the bit where I said about hard work. So dream is great, belief is fantastic, because the belief will keep you going. Hard work is where it will get you over the line, inshallah. So I said to Brother Muhammad as well that I became the first person of a Babe or this black or Asian or minority ethnic heritage to go through GMP's 47-year history to pass the National Strategic Command course a couple of months ago. So I'll be going into the Strategic Command course, which hopefully shall lead me to the Chief Officer level. So I'll become a potentially whatever lesson I will. So what I'm saying is that if that's somebody who doesn't have a GCSEs, A levels, degrees, or whatever, So we finish with the point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Hazrat Adam through the ribs of Hawa. He created Hazrat Isa without a father. So meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need means to make things happen. So you have that belief, you have that dream, you have that belief, you work hard, inshallah, and you will get there. Jazakumullah for your time. So thank you very much, inshallah.
Mashallah, very beautiful words and very inspirational words. And it's a pleasure and an honor to see that, because what you get is, alhamdulillah, a lot of brothers who do make it, they don't keep their deen and their intellect and their vision as clear as Brother Umar. Mashallah, I'm very impressed. I meet a lot of people, once they get to that sort of level, they kind of change slightly. I won't put it any further than that, because I meet them quite a lot. But mashallah, it is heartwarming. And, you know, like Brother Umar said, Hazrat Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam and Hazrat Hawa, you know, was created from the firstly of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, and then we're all from them. We're all the same, no matter who we are. But what he's giving you is inspiration. You know, my story is quite similar to, I was in bottom sets for everything. And alhamdulillah, by the blessings of the Nalin, in fact, from the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I've been practicing for about 21 years now. And so it's a similar sort of story. And you know, he was saying that, it was coming back to me. And when somebody asked me, I said two things are responsible for me being here today. One is salah. No matter what happened, I always prayed my salah. And two, I always tried to keep my parents happy and got their du'as. And those two things, and you got Brother Umar, Brother Nadeem, Muhammad, I was told Nadeem Muhammad, Brother Muhammad, and you know, here, salah and your parents, you do those two, and just watch your life take off, and you'll end up in positions like this. Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us.